Hello, my friends, and happy Friday. I have got a great conversation with Canada's Dean Blundell joining me today, and I wanted to get right to it because I'm super busy today, and Dean makes so many interesting points that I haven't heard made elsewhere. You gotta go subscribe to his Substack, which is very popular, deanblundell.substack.com. For more information on him, check out the show notes. But I've loved getting to know him. I love the fact that a listener who we love, Carlo from Canada, connected me with Dean, told me about Dean. I looked him up and thought he was great, and we've been hitting it off for a couple months now. And he's a real smart guy. And like me, he's a former radio guy, a media guy, but very, very sharp, unlike me. We love this. We love him. I hope you'll support him. And I think you're going to learn a lot, as I did from this conversation, about Canada's election with Dean. And I went live with him yesterday on YouTube. So we were talking about Substack and a bunch of other things first. And I start the conversation when I start asking him questions about the election. Let's do it. But let me just help me understand what happened just before the election, because I think I was reading you and others saying that there was a whole bunch of misinformation and propaganda and disinformation and conspiracy theories towards the end. I have no idea what happened or what that was about. Where was it generated? How did it get echoed? Who was doing it? And how much did it actually bring the election a little closer, is my understanding, at the end than people thought it was going to be?
Yeah, I mean, there's so much there to unpack, Pete, but, I'll give you a little context. So about 6 months ago, we have Pierre Poilievre, Maple MAGA. He's like a Donald Trump protege. You know how Trump has got like-minded assholes in different countries that want the same thing he does, which is authoritarianism and, fascism and all the shit that goes with the isms. And Pierre Poilievre had a 94% chance of becoming the next prime minister. He's leading by 30 fucking points, Pete, 6 months ago. November was like 25.
Yeah.
And then Donald Trump happened. He won the general election, and Canada just had a speed wobble. We're like, whoa, what does that mean for us? Because one of the first things out of his mouth was like, we're going to tariff Canada. We're going to bring those tariffs nice and hot. We're going to make you guys pay. You're borrowing our military. Never happened once, by the way. Never asked for military help from the United States once.
Well, you're sending all that fentanyl, too.
Yeah. Oh, and all the river of fentanyl that was flowing into the United States from Canada because, as they said, Mexican cartels took over the country. I mean, it was just the most ridiculous gaslighting bullshit I've ever seen. And you can do a lot of things to Canadians. You can't gaslight them like this. You can if you're Canadian a little bit, and we'll figure it out, and I'll get to that in just a second. But if you're Donald Trump, if you're a well-known moron, Canadians are way smarter than that. We're like, okay, we know there's no fentanyl issue here. This is ridiculous. And that largely bore out. And then Donald Trump was elected. Then he was inaugurated. And then he started with the 51st state shit. Like, that was it. For Canadians, it was, okay, I'm watching that happen in the United States. We've got his protege up here who's got a 30-point lead in the polls. We can't do this. We owe it to our country to unite. You and I talked about it in a podcast a couple of months ago. The national unity wave went across the country so fast that Pierre Poilievre lost every head of steam he had, all 30 points. And about a month ago, Carney had built up a 15-point lead in the polls. So that was a plus 45 swing. Like, it's just unheard of in politics. Unheard of. Especially when you're the incumbent government and you're down 30.
Yeah, that's a good 15, point. That's a good point.
Yeah,
it's a really good point that rarely happens. Go ahead.
Yeah, no, and getting to the original question, what made it close at the end?
Yeah.
The same bullshit tricks that MAGA pulled, Maple MAGA pulled. There were pictures of Mark Carney at a World Economic Forum event standing a few feet away from Ghislaine Maxwell. And Canada Proud, several other fake news organizations, like we have those here too, Rebel News, Canada Proud, True North, which is now called Juno, started in with the Carney associates with pedophile ringleaders bullshit. And Carney's a liar. Carney and the picture, like, and the alt-right MAGA, Maple MAGA, they spent tens of millions of dollars in the last month of the campaign trying to paint Mark Carney as A, a pedophile, and B, a Nazi. Like, the two things that Russia says it's in Ukraine to end, the things that Donald Trump and MAGA have said and the Donald Trump regime have said they're here to end, they're the things that they actually go after people with, right? And that's what made it close in the end, was 80% of the information that was targeting a political opponent was targeting targeting Mark Carney with pedophile, Nazi, liar, tax evader, all the same shitty tropes that you see that work almost every single time when did work in the United States the second time with Donald Trump. But that doesn't wash here. Canadians came out in the end, and we elected a Rhodes Scholar with an Oxford and Harvard degree, and you've got Donald Trump.
And apparently a pedophile. I wonder how many people it works on, though. Like that tarnishing a candidate, a person. I got that label on Twitter from, what's his name, the anti-trans guy. Matt Walsh went after me on Twitter, and I got called a pedophile for weeks. I thought they were going to destroy my career because I'd be attached to that word. It's a horrible thing. And it was based on something.
Well, you and I grew up when that word was the scarlet letter. Like if someone accused you of being a pedophile, that wasn't just fighting words.
The way I've been saying it, Dean, because I feel like this crystallizes things for people on Earth One, progressives, liberals, whatever, is if I truly believed that you were sexually assaulting kids, I would want to kill you. And I would definitely do something about it. I would call the authorities. I mean, if I believe that, a lot of people believe this stuff. When people start tarnishing with it, connecting the dots, and all of a sudden Tom Hanks is drawing the blood of children to live forever. That is a very insidious conspiracy theory that seems to be very pervasive across this country, and apparently yours. I guess I don't know if you would say another word about how animated or how many people that convinced.
Oh, dude, it convinced enough people for him to win a minority, but also for him to win the popular vote by the biggest popular vote margin in Canadian history. Because, as many dumb people that believe that and kind of went back to the right, if you will, thinking, hey, maybe he is a pedophile. Maybe he's a Nazi pedophile who's involved in a Nazi pedophile ring. But we've heard it so much, like how many times I've been called a groomer for, standing up for trans rights or LGBTQ rights.
Exactly. Just being an ally.
You're a pedo.
Yeah.
It's lost any kind of pejorative good that it used to have, right? Because we're so numb to it, because it is the only tool in the MAGA fascist toolbox. It's like, if all else fails, you remember when Elon Musk wasn't allowed to use a submarine to rescue those Thai boys? Remember that? And he called the guy that said no to Elon Musk. He goes, you're a pedophile. You probably want to have sex with those kids. It's literally like, from, common sense conversation to being told no or being told fuck off. It's like, you're a pedophile. It's so stupid, and it's a shame, because what it does is it really washes out the importance of protecting children when you're using it like you're swinging it
it's
around.
A great point.
Like a you know what I mean?
It's a really important point. It's an issue we've talked about a lot on the show in terms of what people believe, what's really happening. And if you talk to actual organizations that do great work to stop and prevent human trafficking, sex trafficking, which is a real thing. If you talk to those organizations, they say exactly what you just said about how they're destroying the movement and those people who are trying to do the help because of the way that they're painting everybody this way and the way that they talk about it. So let me ask you about what are the other things that animated people during the election, or the election outcome itself. What does it mean that he won and I guess he didn't get the majority? So what does it mean for governance for Canada? What is this guy actually able to do with this makeup of Parliament?
Well, great question, Pete. Thank you for asking.
Thank you.
Yeah, really good question. You're a great questioner. So, a couple things. In Canada, I'll just give people quick Cole's Notes or Cliff's Notes tour of how Parliament works. There are 363 seats. You need a majority, which is 172, to govern. And if you got the majority, you can kind of bully your way through. It's like having all three levels of government: the presidency, the Senate, and the Congress. That's a majority if you get 172 seats here in Parliament. And so he's got 168. Actually 169 now because a recount went his way And he's also reached out to Mark Carney, several MPs who he thinks he can get to cross the floor, whether it's from the derelict NDP party, which would have been Ross Perot's Reform Party, or if it's the conservative, beleaguered Conservative Party, of which the leader, Maple MAGA leader, Pierre Poilievre, literally lost his seat. It would be like, a sitting congressperson who became president or vice president or became a cabinet member, losing their Congress district, being put out of the district. So he's out of a job. So there's really no leader of the official opposition. So now you've got a bunch of infighting on the conservative side of that equation, which is Maple MAGA, where the Liberal Party, led by Mark Carney, who's really a conservative with socially democratic values. Like he's a very fiscal conservative guy, but he's got a huge heart. He believes in climate change and he believes in protecting marginalized people, which is doesn't align with the conservative ledger. And he was also the governor of the Bank of Canada. I don't know if you know that. Who was hired to be the governor of the Bank of Canada in 2008 to save Canada and the United States from the crash, which he did. And he was hired by Stephen Harper, who's a hardcore conservative. So he had so much credit on both sides. Now he's got the credit to go back across the aisle and say, come and work with us. We're red Tories. We're socially progressive, very conservative liberals. So let's change the nature of the party, which in Canada, we're very centrist, which is music to everybody's ears in this country. Whether you're conservative, liberal, and New Democrat, doesn't matter. It's like, oh my God, we get to govern from the center where we get to do business in Canada. We get to do away with all the identity bullshit. How incredible is that? And so really we elected him, though, not just to, bring normalcy back and civility back to politics in Canada, but he's the steadiest hand we got. He's an economic powerhouse. He's a genius. He's led two different countries' central banks. He's a central banker. He's got his doctorate in economics. He's one of the smartest people in the world, and he's not afraid of jack shit. So when we saw him, the only adult in the room, Canadians were like, let's go over there. Like literally run to the other side of the ship. Let's get on side with this guy. And he's been nothing short of a miracle and a revelation to Canadians who've been dying and begging to get rid of the polar opposites that have been governing politics in this country, largely in North America. But more importantly, someone to stand up against Trump's anti-Canada disrespect and all the tariffs and all the bullshit in the no man's land. He's really tried to put Canada in. The sense of pride that we have in this country is firmly lined up behind Mark Carney at this point.
So fascinating stuff that Canada did do much better than we did in the global financial crisis, and you kept your regulations on banks, which is why you weren't affected as much. I did not know he was a skipper that was picked by the conservative prime minister at the time to come and right that ship. But it seems he has already proven his intelligence because of the strategy that you wrote he carried out a couple of weeks ago, or around Liberation Day, which we have to call it something different, which apparently Carney had the Canadians quietly investing in treasuries and nobody knew it. And all of a sudden he called up the White House or something and was like, hey man, little did you know, we stacked the bank with your treasuries and now we have some pressure over you, some leverage that you didn't know we had, and we did it. Like, I don't know if I'm explaining it very well. I got lost, but your piece went viral. People were sending it to me. The issue I had with your piece, and I texted you around that time, didn't hear back, but fine. It was, what's the sourcing? I don't have any sourcing for this piece. I want to believe that Mark Carney did this and this was a strategy that he led and undertook. That'd be great, but where is the reporting on this? So is that what happened?
Let me address the sourcing. Yes, that's kind of what happened. Let me address the sourcing first. Someone in Mr. Carney's orbit. I'll just say that. It is firsthand information. Now, let me just kind of walk you back.
According to you. Okay?
Yeah, well, has anybody debunked it yet? Snopes couldn't.
I saw that.
Snopes went after me. Oh, yeah. Snopes went after me. They're like, we called Mr. Blundell. He didn't return a call. They never called me. Never once.
Has Mark Carney or any of his people been asked if they carried out the strategy that you articulated? That you know?
They said that they were engaging when asked. They were engaging actively with countermeasures in other countries. Yeah,
countermeasures. And
let me kind of get to what that is.
Yeah, get to it, please. This is huge. This really is going to be the clip. Cool.
So when Carney became the leader of the Liberal Party, because when Justin Trudeau walked away, the Liberals had to elect a new leader, and that leader became the placeholder prime minister, interim prime minister, and he called an election to get a mandate from the people, which he got. But prior to that, he's like, I know a lot of people overseas, and I know how much U.S. debt all the people he's threatening owe all of these people. Canada, is the fourth biggest T-bill holder of U.S. Treasury bonds, right?
Fourth.
When America is broke, they go to other countries and they go, buy our U.S. Treasury bonds. The yields are great. And they are. That's why the U.S. dollar is the world reserve. It's the standard. It's the monetary standard. So Mark Carney's really, really smart. And he's also really calm. And so what he did is he got on a flight as soon as he became prime minister, interim prime minister, made a couple phone calls before he went, got on a flight, phone call to Japan, got on a flight, went and met with, if you remember, Sweden, Germany, France, England, and Keir Starmer, who had literally a seizure at the feet of Donald Trump about a week and a half before that, going, we just want to work with you, sir. You're going to be the greatest. It's going to be lovely. He went and tuned him in. Mark Carney went over and was like, "This is not how you deal with it."
Do more Keir Starmer kissing Trump's ass, please.
Sir, whatever you like, sir. We'll give you everything and more, sir. Just go slow, sir. Use more lube, sir. So that's literally what Keir Starmer was all about. And Mark Carney saw that, and he's like, this is not how you deal with this guy. I've been dealing with these assholes my whole life. As the governor of the Bank of England, governor of the Bank of Canada, just thought he'd save Ireland from a crash back in the late 2000s as well. He was a citizen of 3 countries. He was so well respected. He walked into some of these meetings. He goes, listen, we hold all their debt. He's threatening us. The second we start selling U.S. Treasury bonds collectively, the dollar goes down, interest rates go up, and Donald Trump's fucked because nobody wants to invest in a Treasury bond that doesn't show a yield. And on top of it, they've got no way of paying it back. So do what you will, but that's a strategy we can all get behind. Now, where Mark Carney was really smart is prior to this announcement, he made another announcement which went under the radar. And he said, we're going to start selling Canadian Treasury bonds in U.S. dollars. And that made Canada the envy of the investor world the second the rest of the free world started selling U.S. Treasury bonds, because they're looking for a safe harbor. That's what Treasury bonds are. At a time of economic storm or geopolitical upheaval, people would shove money into U.S. Treasury bonds so they could keep their money safe for world markets, et cetera, et cetera. Well, Donald Trump's tanking the markets. Now the rest of the free world is selling these Treasury bonds, and Mark Carney is selling Canadian Treasury bonds in U.S. dollars, forcing all of that money into Canada, forcing all of that money into the euro. Go and check the price of the euro. Check the Canadian dollar against the U.S. dollar. Check the EU dollar, the euro against the American dollar. It's like gold. The Canadian dollar is like gold to investors because it's safe, because we're not a country that holds $35 trillion in debt and owes all these other countries, which to me, let's put this in brass tacks outside of the incredible stroke of genius that was Mark Carney rallying everybody to do something at the same time, to send a warning to Donald Trump, to crater the U.S. economy and to force him into that tariff pause, because that's when it happened. So when he's like, we're going to pause the tariffs, just going to pause the tariffs. And you heard about bonds, that was Mark Carney. That was Mark Carney. So as we sit here today and talk about what's going on in the United States, you saw a very demure Donald Trump yesterday admit that he did speak to Mark Carney. I don't know if you saw that. He's like, he's a great guy. I really liked him. He's going to be a lot of fun to work with. Just kissed his ass yesterday because he knows Mark Carney is a serious player who can do the kind of damage that not many people on this planet can do because he's got the willpower to do it. He knows the people. Jordan Peterson and Joe Rogan were talking about it yesterday. They said this will be Donald Trump's global nemesis because he knows everybody and he's that good. You got those guys shitting their pants. So that's who we elected. That's why we elected him. Quietly going about the business of protecting Canada and the free world and trying to reinstall democracy for our American friends as well.
Wow, that is some strategy and story, and I wonder if it ever gets widely publicly reported. And I also think it's a little bit convoluted and hard to understand, even the way that you explained it well, but the whole selling Canadian bonds in American dollars and what that what leverage that created or how it affected the market lost me a little bit, meaning all I want is a very simple way to tell what Mark Carney did and why it had such an effect, gave him leverage, and makes him much smarter than Trump. Because with Trump, you have this narrative that he created. He's just a salesman. The Apprentice was a show to make him seem like a real good businessman. Everybody in New York knew he was, fraudster, worked with the mafia, and would just take your shit. And he's all bluster and he's all rhetoric, and Carney is none of that. I saw him give a speech. He's not a very good speaker. I don't know, his strength does not lie in being a magnetic personality and what clips I've seen of him. But apparently if you back that up with a kind of intelligence and ability to strategize and apparently unify not only Canadians but Europeans together on any strategy, that may work. That may be a better approach to leadership.
Yeah. Strangely enough, it is, right? Relationships. Talk about those things all the time. He's got magnificent relationships. And Coles notes that entire convoluted explanation. He encouraged everybody to flood the market with U.S. dollars while he opened up Canada's ability to take in U.S. dollars in the form of T-bills, but here in Canada. So effectively replacing that and telling people this is a safer haven for your money. And we saw that happen. When you say,
just to be clear, when you say he encouraged others, you mean in his trips, he went country to country and said, this is a strategy. He encouraged those countries to flood the market, and they did it. I think it's a pretty big deal that he came up with this idea, the strategy, and then he visited these countries. I mean, they should make a film about that. You could make it pretty, I think, interesting, provocative. That's a very dangerous and provocative strategy. I don't know how secretive he had to be about it, or if he was at all, but he knew he was going to those countries, and that's what they did, and it worked. It's a pretty big. Yeah. It's crazy.
Yeah, it is crazy until you understand the nuance. Where a guy like that has relationships, that knows every other director of finance, central banker for all these other countries that are going to be attacked by Donald Trump, that are being attacked by Donald Trump. And he's like, hey, these are the triggers at our disposal. Do with it what you will. Japan jumped the gun. They started selling T-bills right away. Belgium, same thing. So it wasn't like a concerted effort, 3, 2, 1, go. It was a meeting of all the like minds where Mark Carney had that ability to get that straight pipe and say, hey, here's the tools at our disposal. Canada's countermeasures are going to be surgical, which they are, and they have been. Our tariffs are on. They haven't come off the entire time, even with the 90-day pause, which I think ends tomorrow. And Donald Trump blinked again yesterday in the face. Actually, he did it today. And I believe it has a lot to do with the fear of Mark Carney. Is on April 3rd, I don't know if you know this, May 3rd, rather. On May 3rd, U.S. tariffs go on non-USMCA regulated vehicles or approved vehicles. That tariff was supposed to go on all these auto parts, which would have killed the auto part industry in Canada and the United States, right? Well, today, sneaky little order came out. My buddy Flavio Volpe, who's the head of the APMA, who said Trump would do this right before the tariffs, because he's been threatening more tariffs, get a tariff can. He did it again the other day. He silently removed the tariffs from Canadian auto parts and Mexican auto parts. Like, he just did that today because he's like, ooh, these guys are serious. What are they going to do to me?
So he didn't make any, there's no announcement about it. This reporter, your friend, just noticed, and I'm sure the industry, that it was not there anymore because he doesn't want to publicly look like he made any concessions, it would seem.
Correct. Yeah, there was no announcement. It's just in the actual order itself, which I'm going to post on my Substack later on this afternoon, so you can go read it. Flavio Volpe, you can go check him out. He's on Twitter. It's on his timeline. You can check out the actual report itself, and it's literally a memo from the government saying, okay, tariffs on vehicles non-U.S. related or USMCA related are going on tomorrow, and auto parts are excluded.
Give me try to capture the feeling, your own feeling, and that of your friends and fellow countrymen at the result of the election. Because I got several Canadian listeners, 7, 8, I don't know how many, but I got a really interesting email from a woman named Erin and then our friend Carlo, who turned me on to you, and now I'm more turned on than ever before. And they both did a great job capturing the kind of the results and the emotions and the feelings around Mark Carney's win. You saw the polls. You had a 39-day election. You didn't have that much time to get anxious like we do down here. But how would you articulate the results and what it means for your country and what you're feeling and the feeling of others that you've heard and talked to?
Man, it's a great question. There's some nuance there. Relief. I think generally 80% of the country is relieved. I think we're relieved because we finally, Trudeau was he was a drama teacher, man. He was not a central banker, not a master economist. You know, he didn't have the scrot for this job. He pretended he did, and he acted his way through it. I did not like him.
He didn't have the scrot, like the scrotum?
Scrotum. That's the courage to do a job for the sake of doing a job and not just being performative in that job.
Yeah.
So I think people that didn't like Trudeau, who also didn't like Pierre Poilievre, relieved because they had someone to vote for. He's an adult in the room. I mean, his resume is impeccable. He's scandal-free. What he has done for the economy, for human beings, he's got a great book out called Values. I'd encourage everybody to go read it. This is a man that lives his virtues. This is a man that lives his values. This is a man that is in it for the right reasons. Gave up a very, very well-paying job at Brookfield. Put everything in trust, gave up his Irish and English citizenship, all in for Canada, and said, hey, I'm here. I'll take this low-paying, shitty government job and run the country, but for the right reasons, because what his plan is to build. What came out of those meetings that we talked about when it came to the bond exercise and aligning with other countries, is this national plan to re-energize and rebuild and build a massive energy corridor that stretches coast to coast in Canada, that rebuilds ports in Canada to get our raw materials out to diversified trade partners so we could leave our relationship with the United States. If you remember when Mark Carney won, he effectively stood at the stump, did it more than once, probably about 12 times now. Our economic and military relationship and special relationship with the United States is over. He kept saying it over and over again. And he wouldn't say it unless he went out and secured deals, which he did with Sweden, Germany, Finland, England, France, Ukraine, Poland, several other EU countries, some ANZAC countries, including Australia, New Zealand, Spain. And our goal now is to build and turn Canada into a military and economic powerhouse because we own and hold the rights to the biggest rare earth energy reserves in the world. And they're largely unexplored. It's been the fight of a lifetime across the country trying to tell each province, hey, we need to build across this country, across this country so we can get our stuff out of the country so that we can build Canada into its realized potential.
You guys got to mine your rare earth for the metals and all those things that go in renewable batteries, lithium and stuff. Oil,
you have
a lot of that.
Zinc.
Yeah, your country's all in to mine your country for rare earth.
All in. In. For one reason and one reason only. And I know there's going to be a lot of cave people or hippies or people who are just, environmentally friendly who will say, why are you doing that in a time where we're trying to get rid of fossil fuels? It's not just about fossil fuels, right? We need to get oil out of the ground for sure. And I'm a firm believer in it. But we also need to be able to protect Canada and protect Canada from a position of strength. So part of that deal is, hey, listen, we need to explore and we need to pull some stuff out of the ground, but we also need to pull that stuff out of the ground, manufacture it here, and build our own armaments, do our own refining of our own oil. We need to do that here too. So we need to build an economic powerhouse that's part of the procurement process so that Canada can be a global superpower in the next 3 to 5 years.
Just calm down, first of all. Just
Why?
take it easy.
You don't like me saying Canada's going to be a
getting worked up with some of the rhetoric. Let's see.
Calm down.
Yes, it's the most condescending. People I can't imagine.
You wouldn't be Pete Dominic if you weren't. I don't think I'd like you if you didn't just shit talk me.
I mean, I come from the school of the Comedy Cellar and New York City comedy, and you just slam each other. And when someone comes on this show and I do that to them, it means nothing but respect. It means you're at the table, and so you should feel greatly honored. I looked it up. Yes, Canada has significant rare earth reserves. It's considered a leading global producer of critical minerals, including rare earth elements, which are essential for various technologies like electric vehicles and electronics. So everything you said is right, and including the high rhetoric of, you being a future leader as a result.
Superpower. Well, we have to replace you, right? Someone's got to do it.
You will not replace
us.
You will
not you.
Us.
But we got to replace America on the world stage. Mark Carney's the leader of the free world, dude.
I got to ask you one more question. I'll let you go.
Sure. Yeah.
Talk about, it's really fascinating getting to learn more about Canada from you and others through this campaign and this lens of, and seeing where you guys lined up on values. And I love hearing you talk about that because we pretty much agree on all of those virtues and values. And yet you don't have the similar kind of, there's elements of the culture war that we have, obviously, but it's such a different history, and it's I feel like it manifests so much differently there. But I was at the town hall for my Republican congressman where I live, Mike Lawler.
You bring tomatoes?
On Sunday night at Mike Lawler, and we were not allowed to, film. We weren't allowed to yell out or you get kicked out. But I want you to know, I'm getting to a point here for a question, but I was very courageous. I yelled out many times. They tried to kick me out, and I said no. And one of the issues that he brought up, one of the issues that's being argued here in America, they want to make cuts to Medicaid. Mm-hmm. And they're saying they're not going to cut any services. Of course they are. But what they're saying is they don't think that able-bodied people should get Medicare, should get health care. What they're saying is they want what they call a work requirement, meaning you have to have a job if you want to qualify for health insurance from the government we call Medicaid. And one of the times I screamed out, and one of the most courageous moments of my life, was healthcare is a human right. So my point is, I don't care if some stoner is sitting in his parents' basement and never works a day in his life. I believe he should be entitled to access to healthcare, health insurance, Medicaid. I think he should get it. I support it. And that's the fight we're having right now, the policy fight. Work requirement for poor people to get insurance. How does that sound to your Canadian ears? How does that resonate with you, that idea that that's the argument my Republican and other Republicans are making. You should have to work to get health insurance.
Well, I mean, I believe we have covered part of this conversation in a previous podcast where I believe I said to you, I don't even understand that. Like, Canadians don't understand that every single person in a country doesn't have access to top-flight health care. We have access issues here, for sure. A lot of people don't have doctors because we have a doctor shortage. Now, in Canada, we're also coming after American doctors. I'm interviewing one on our show who moved to Vancouver, Dr. Timothy Snyder, Dr. Marcy Shore. So many people have moved to Canada.
Well, your healthcare system has all kinds of problems, but what you don't have to worry about is if you lose your job, your kid gets sick, you can't help your kid, or you can't pay your bills, and you're going to lose all of your money, and your family's going to lose all of its money. You don't have that. That's what you don't have, even with all the problems, right?
Yeah. We don't. We've had, I think, again, covered this before. We've had zero financial bankruptcies due to medical costs. Zero in the history of this country. In the United States last year, I believe you had 600,000 in the last calendar year. So, I watched that Mike Lawler town hall. I'm really glad to know you were there, by the way. It was a joke. I've watched a lot of those town halls, watched a lot of your MAGA congressmen in those town halls and senators legitimately tried to sell their constituents on the idea that it would be really good for you actually to lose your health care. And none of that makes any sense. None of it makes any sense. Sicker people are more expensive.
We don't think about. We don't think
fact.
You're making too many arguments that no one even wants to hear. We are cutting investments into science and research that are why this country is rich, and these MAGA people are going, fuck Alzheimer's.
Yeah,
I'm never going to get it.
Did you read about the avian flu outbreak? I covered this in a podcast that we do here called The Five Stack with my buddy Zev recently.
How many podcasts do you do?
Yeah, I do. Well, this one and the other one, and maybe one more sometimes. And
avian flu outbreak. I'm looking it up.
Yeah, all 50 states. State officials in all 50 states are like, oh, we've got a problem. Not a word from the federal government because they canceled those departments. They got rid of those scientists. Science communication, science literacy. They got rid of all those people. COVID tracking, pandemic trackers, real scientists that were trying to find solutions to protect Americans from the avian flu, which was on the radar. Like the second that Trump won, they go in for a briefing. As people go in for a briefing, the Biden people are like, hey, just so you know, we kind of warned you about COVID. We're going to warn you now about the avian flu. It's a problem. They took that file, put it in the garbage, and just kept walking into the White House. Like,
yeah, they don't know. The Trump administration, people who are in charge of like poultry, don't know what flies and what does not. They don't understand what a hen or a rooster. It's crazy. They had their economic. I'm barely exaggerating. They had their economic guy Kevin Hassett out explaining why bird flu is not really that much of an issue. And then our agriculture secretary came out and said that everybody should have their own chickens and get their own eggs. Everybody should just do that because that's what she does.
Because you can do that in New York.
Well, in New York City and certain parts of Brooklyn. So, all right, I'll let you go. It's so much information you gave me, and there's so much more at your Substack, but I want to keep having access to you, please.
Dude, I missed you.
I texted you once, and you didn't get back to me, and I was like, what the fuck?
When? Dude, I don't have that text. You texted me?
Yeah.
I always get back to you. I didn't.
You did this one time, and
I get smothered sometimes in my texts.
Yeah, that's fine.
Maybe missed it.
That happens to me, too. I just want to know why.
I do. You're like you're top 3 American to me.
Is that right?
Yeah.
Who are the other two? Sammy Davis Jr.
No. Kurt Cobain, number 1.
Dead or alive? Now, living. Who are your favorite living Americans right now? Who do you know in America that you're friends? Would I know anybody that you know? Are you friends?
One of my favorite living Americans. One of the used to be a great friend of mine. Haven't talked to him for a few years. Used to be the drummer in a little band called Motley Crue. His name's Tommy Lee. Easily a top 3 American to me.
Really? You're friends with Tommy Lee?
Yeah.
Wow. Who else? What other famous people are you friends with here?
Well, not Canadian anymore, and now largely vilified because of his mega stance. Wayne Gretzky, one of the greatest guys in the world to party with, one of the nicest guys in the world. Now Canada hates him because he likes MAGA. It's weird.
Well, you went after him, didn't you? Didn't you go after Wayne Gretzky publicly?
I don't know if I went after him. I kind of explained why the rest of the country had fallen out of love with our hockey god. Yeah, and that was because he's like, I don't mind that Trump's a rapist and he's threatening to take over my homeland. I'll just sit here and bask in the glow, right?
Felt like that was a missed opportunity for old Wayne.
Yeah, so I think he's American now, so he would have been one of my favorites. He might have dropped out of, and then you're right there. You're top 3.
Wow,
Pete Dominic.
Me, Tommy
Stand
Lee.
Up with Pete Dominic podcast. Yeah,
and Wayne Gretzky.
Honest to God, I love you. I really do. I love what you stand for. I love your head. I love your beard. You know.
Can you go back to like some of my? Well, you went for like one broad character quality, and then you went right to aesthetics. I wish it was more. Dude,
the first thing in the fucking podcast today was you mocking my coat.
Well, that's a choice. I didn't choose.
You said I looked like a cloud on a sad day or something.
I said you looked like you were trying to camouflage yourself into an old timey film. That's all.
Yeah, but it was this first thing. It was even before you hit go on. The record button.
I was shocked.
Nice
the jacket,
coat, loser.
The jacket is shocking. It shocked me. I don't know. I don't know what to tell you. I'm an honest person.
I literally ran in, did a podcast, haven't even taken my coat off, and barely had time to make a coffee. But I was not going to miss the podcast with my third favorite American in the whole world, living American. Dead
Wonderful. American,
it's Abraham Lincoln, number 1. And I haven't thought about it much after that.
Well, Kurt Cobain, you mentioned. I am honored, and I'm so rejuvenated that we've reunited. I'm very excited to talk to you next time, and go read your Substack and then follow in your footsteps over there. So,
you coming over
to Substack?
We want to be Substack buddies.
Oh yeah, I want to be in your Substack womb.
Part of a nice little group over there. Olga Lautman. Trump tyranny tracker lady. She's incredible. She's on like Putin's hit list. She's great.
Who is it? What's her name?
Olga Lautman. We're having Lev Parnas on the show tomorrow.
Oh,
Trump's former guy.
Yeah, what are you going to talk with him about?
I want to know how Giuliani smells. He's been close enough. He looks like a sweaty mess.
Oh, he smells like hair dye and whiskey.
I believe he does. So yeah, I'm going to get the deets on that. I'm going to get the deets on Trump. Seb Gorka. I want to know about him. He's
Dean's gone. Dean disappeared. At least he disappeared for me. I think it was the Putin. Putin just got rid of Dean. All right, well, I was wrapping it up. Is he coming back? I think he's coming back. Let's give him a few seconds. Wow, I learned a lot from him. Exactly, Rachel. He's talking about Putin and just boom. I hope he didn't fall out of a window. It looked like he was sitting near a window. Maybe Kirk Cameron came crashing into his room and said, "Give me back my jacket from Growing Pains." All right. Wow, that was awesome. And a great conversation, almost an hour with Dean. So thank you guys for watching live. And
how'd I do?
I don't know, but you disappeared, but I was killing.
No, I can't hear you.
I was killing. You can't hear me?
Dude, let's just, I'm sorry. I got a phone call in the middle of this, and I'm bad. I can't hear you now. But thank you to my third favorite American. I love you, Pete. Stand Up with Pete Dominic. We'll see you at Substack. We'll talk. Call me.
There he goes, everybody. There he goes. And all right, that was the end of the live video and the interview with Dean. He disappeared. He came back. Hopefully that was worth keeping in. I was going to edit that out, but I thought it was kind of fun. I hope you appreciated today's conversation. Sorry I didn't get to news and clips today. Super busy here on the home front, but I will get back after it all of next week, and I'm very happy to have your support, and hopefully I'll talk to you, hear from you over the weekend, anytime on the Discord platform. Thanks for everybody who joined me at the Hangout last night. I think I forgot to say that at the top. We had a lot of fun, and if you're still listening and you want to relive that or watch it, the link is in today's Patreon email. Subscribe on Substack, subscribe on YouTube. Sorry if you're getting too many emails from me. You can always opt out of the email if it's too much. I know that's annoying, but I really am very grateful to you. And, of course, to John Carroll, who writes and performs all of our music, johncarroll.org. Go buy his new album, see him on tour, and have a great weekend. Bumblebees.
Boy, you better stand up. Well, there's a whole lot more of us who know us right. They'll keep right on ignoring us if we keep things right. You got to open up the window to let in some light. You got to stand up. That's right. You got to rise up. You got to stand up. You got to stare the devil